So that's what we're doing right now. We're watching the beginning of the breathing of a budding relationship. Okay. Yeah.
People are just dying for the chemistry between you two. The kiss at the London premiere, recreating the Titanic. Oh, we were so close.
Yeah, so close.
Hollywood thought it had seen every twist, until whispered sightings, charged glances, and a trail of cryptic posts put Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson at the center of a headline storm. He's the stoic action legend. She's the reinvented icon with a fearless new voice. Now, after weeks of coy teases and red carpet electricity, Neeson finally addresses the rumors, and the subtext is louder than the words. Tonight on the stage, are we witnessing an unlikely romance or a carefully guarded bond that rewrites their stories? Let's unravel the truth.
Pamela Anderson and Liam Neeson don't seem to mind fueling those dating reports.
The red carpet, moments that set Hollywood on fire. In October 2024, Liam Neeson sat down with People magazine for what many thought would be a standard puff-piece interview. At first, it sounded like the usual actor banter, humble talk about confidence, fitting into rooms full of big personalities, and easing into his roles. But then mid-sentence, something shifted. His words took an unexpected turn, and his tone softened. He wasn't just speaking about acting anymore. He was speaking about Pamela Anderson.
Lovely lady. She got me in to meet Rob Reiner for The Princess Bride for the Giant.
And then came the line that made everyone stop and replay the audio. First off, I'm madly in love with her. Fans assumed it was sarcasm, the kind of over-the-top affection celebrities use to hype up a co-star. Hollywood PR fluff, right? Not this time. This wasn't acting. It was a man having a very real moment of vulnerability, unintentionally admitting his feelings to the world. And hidden behind that confession was a story no one outside the set knew. During filming for the Naked Gun reboot, Pamela wasn't just learning her lines, she was baking sourdough loaves for Liam, sneaking cookies into his dressing room, and whipping up fresh muffins like she'd stepped straight out of a 1950s domestic fantasy. She even coined the term professionally romantic dinners, carefully orchestrated meals with assistants hovering nearby to keep everything appropriate. It was sweet, almost old-fashioned, and it completely upended Liam's rules. Just months before, he had told multiple outlets that he was done with dating entirely. Yet one meeting with Pamela Anderson seemed to rewrite his entire philosophy on love. By July, the chemistry had spilled far beyond the film set. At the London premiere of The Naked Gun, the whispers turned into a full-blown media frenzy. As cameras flashed, Pamela leaned in and kissed Liam's cheek. Not a quick, polite peck, but a slow, deliberate gesture that carried weight. It wasn't just affectionate, it was territorial, a silent but crystal-clear message that left the crowd buzzing. The moment was immortalized in thousands of photos and videos, instantly dissected online like forensic evidence. TikTok users slowed the footage down frame by frame, analyzing every glance, every tiny smirk, every lean of the shoulder. But London was only the warm-up. Berlin was where the story took on a cinematic glow. On that premiere carpet, they were caught in a moment that could have closed out a Hollywood rom-com. Standing close, eyes locked, faces lit by the soft glow of the cameras. They looked utterly oblivious to the chaos of fans, press, and flashing bulbs around them. To anyone watching, it wasn't acting. It was something deeper, the kind of connection you can't stage. The images went viral again, sparking headlines, speculation, and endless comparisons to Nicholas Sparks' love stories. Then, just when fans thought they'd seen it all,
"You go into custody. We'll work through this. We'll walk through every possibility. You have my word on that."
New York happened. On July 28th, at the city's premiere, Pamela and Liam walked in not just as co-stars, but flanked by their children. Pamela's sons, Brandon and Dylan Lee, stood side by side with Liam's boys, Michael and Daniel Neeson. All four posed together for the cameras, the smiles and easy body language painting a picture of a blended family in the making. It wasn't just red carpet glamour, it felt personal, intimate, like they'd been part of each other's lives for years instead of months. But this wasn't the final scene, it was only the setup for what came next. the speech that unraveled the truth. And when Liam stepped up to the microphone, one question hung in the air. Was this love story real, or the greatest Hollywood illusion of all? Keep watching. Hollywood's new power pair, how Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson defied the odds. For Liam Neeson, love has always carried the shadow of loss. In 2009, his wife Natasha Richardson died in a tragic skiing accident, leaving him to raise their 2 sons alone. Pamela Anderson has endured her share of heartbreak, failed marriages, public scandals, and relationships that turned toxic. For both, romance seemed like a door they'd closed for good. But when their children not only accepted, but openly celebrated their connection, it became clear this wasn't some casual Hollywood fling. This was something deeper, something real. The public got its first undeniable taste when Pamela posted a photo the very next day, captioned simply, "Love is in the air." She and Liam looked radiant, their smiles almost conspiratorial. Liam's son, Daniel Neeson, punctuated the moment with fire emojis as if to say, "Yes, this is happening." It wasn't just approval, it was a public endorsement. From that moment on, the pretending stopped. By July 29th, they were playing to the cameras with the kind of confidence only true comfort brings. On the Today Show, they staged a cheeky caught-in-the-act moment behind a prop, as if daring the hosts to call them out. When asked point-blank if they were dating, Pamela's coy confusion was almost performance art. "I don't understand the question," she smiled. Liam backed her up with a half-answer about meeting on set and discovering budding chemistry.
You need to come clean, Gabe.
You're confused about our relationship. You work for me. You are my weapon.
Translation: they were together, but they wanted the audience to enjoy the chase. Just hours later, People magazine confirmed it. Sources called it a budding romance and made it clear the two were smitten. Suddenly, all their recent red carpet glances, interviews, and whispered sightings made perfect sense. But the real spark that sealed their status came days later. On August 3rd, during Watch What Happens Live, Pamela casually pulled out her lip balm and applied it to Liam's lips. The gesture was so instinctive, so intimate. It was impossible to believe it was their first time doing it. And sitting in the audience, Daniel Neeson grinned and gave an enthusiastic thumbs up when Andy Cohen asked if he approved, prompting Andy to call it the official stamp of approval. From there, Hollywood rallied behind them. Jamie Lee Curtis got emotional, saying if love had found them, they deserved every happiness. Andy Cohen, who had been close friends with Natasha, voiced his blessing publicly. But the approval that truly mattered came from Natasha's sister, Jolie Richardson. Without a single word, she left 7 red heart emojis on Pamela's Instagram post, a quiet but powerful sign that Liam's first serious relationship since Natasha's death had the Richardson family's blessing. What makes this romance so compelling isn't just that it's unexpected, it's that it feels like a second chance for both of them. For Liam, Pamela represents the first time in 16 years he's truly opened himself to love again.
We're sorry. The number you have reached is not in service. Sorry.
Breaking the emotional wall he once thought was permanent. For Pamela, this is part of a larger transformation, her Renaissance era, where she's being recognized for her acting talent, her wit, and her depth beyond the tabloid image. She's with someone who values her whole self, not just the headlines she's survived. The way they've navigated the attention says everything about the maturity of their relationship. They aren't hiding, but they aren't exploiting it either. Instead, they're letting their natural chemistry do the talking, while keeping just enough mystery to make the world lean in. And now, the fresh twist no one's prepared for. The insider scoop no one saw coming. Could it be the one revelation that changes everything we thought we knew? Stay tuned. The untold story nobody expected. After their joint appearance on the Today Show, the murmurs circling Hollywood transformed into full-blown headlines. That's when People magazine dropped an exclusive, confirming what fans had been guessing for weeks. Pamela Anderson and Liam Neeson weren't just trading smiles for the cameras. They were, according to trusted sources, in the early stages of something real. No staged paparazzi ambushes, no dramatic Instagram declarations, just a soft confirmation from those close to them that something genuine was blooming. People's Report didn't just confirm a romance, it reframed the entire narrative. This wasn't a publicity stunt to sell movie tickets or a calculated move to stir up online buzz. Insiders insisted the relationship had nothing to do with marketing, premieres, or co-star chemistry. Instead, it was about two people, both seasoned in fame, both a little weathered by life, finding each other at a time they least expected. What set this pairing apart was how refreshingly un-Hollywood it all seemed. Sources described how Liam and Pamela spent their time together, taking long walks in quiet neighborhoods, watching classic films, and sharing deep, unhurried conversations. They weren't chasing headlines, they were avoiding them. While the entertainment world thrives on speed, spectacle, and social media validation, these two seem to be carving out their own slower, softer pace. That unexpected simplicity became the hook no one saw coming. Pamela Anderson, the former Baywatch star who once ruled tabloids with high-profile romances and glamorous red carpet appearances, was now enjoying a romance defined by privacy. Liam Neeson, the stoic action hero whose career has spanned decades, was trading the flashbulbs for afternoons spent away from the chaos. It was so different from the Hollywood norm that it almost felt suspiciously pure. Their careers had rarely crossed paths before, yet here they were, finding common ground at this later stage in life.
Everything okay?
Just never thought we'd be in witness protection.
Sorry about all that.
It's all right, we're fine. Just sorry about everything that you...
Their connection, as one insider put it, was gentle, grounded, and without pretension. No grand gestures for the cameras, no explosive declarations, just an ease and mutual understanding that seemed to anchor them both. Of course, the calm didn't silence everyone. Critics questioned if this was still, in some subtle way, tied to the Naked Gun reboot's promotion. Fans debated whether their romance could endure once the press tours ended. But through it all, Liam and Pamela didn't flinch. They didn't post cryptic captions or rush to defend their bond in interviews. That steady silence, some might say, was its quiet confirmation. So is this a genuine love story quietly unfolding, or a perfectly timed connection that plays as well off-screen as it does on? Pamela's quiet comeback and new energy are changing the conversation. And if she's truly rewriting her story, what else might she be ready to reveal? Stay right here. Text wrapping break. Pamela Anderson's Reinvention, From Quiet Strength to Liam Neeson's Gaze. Pamela Anderson has lived under the glare of the spotlight for decades, but the Pamela we see today is a far cry from the tabloid fixture she once was. In recent years, she has undergone a remarkable transformation, one that didn't arrive with loud announcements, dramatic reinventions, or publicity stunts. Instead, it unfolded quietly. Through intentional choices, personal growth, and a deep commitment to a calmer, more meaningful way of living. Her turning point came in 2022 when she stepped onto the Broadway stage as Roxy Hart in Chicago. Many expected her run to be a novelty, a brief stunt that would stir up curiosity before fading away. But what audiences got instead was a commanding, layered performance that stunned critics. Vulnerable yet magnetic, Pamela held the stage with a confidence that shattered old perceptions. That role didn't just open a new chapter, it tore out the old script entirely. The momentum carried into 2023.
This is me, remember me with the big hair and the black eyes and the glitter all over the place? That's me.
When Netflix released Pamela, a love story, a raw and intimate documentary that finally gave her control over her own narrative. For years, her image had been filtered through gossip columns and sensational headlines. Now, for the first time, the public was hearing directly from her. The film revealed a reflective, honest, and empowered woman, someone no longer defined by past scandals, but by the strength she had found in surviving them. The documentary sparked conversations far beyond Hollywood, reframing her not as a nostalgia act, but as a figure reclaiming her truth. Then came 2024's The Last Showgirl, a quiet indie drama that critics embraced for its emotional depth. Pamela's performance surprised those who had underestimated her range, showing a subtlety and grace that earned her nominations for both the Golden Globe and the Screen Actors Guild Awards. These accolades weren't handed out because of who she used to be. They were given because of the artist she had become. Respect had replaced rediscovery. By 2025, Pamela's evolution stretched beyond acting. With Pamela's Cooking with Love, a plant-based cooking series filmed in Canada, she returned to her roots, weaving compassion, wellness, and connection into each episode. Around the same time, she published I Love You, Recipes from the Heart, a cookbook blending personal memories with sustainable, heart-friendly recipes. The book resonated with readers and quickly landed on the James Beard Award shortlist, one of the highest honors in the culinary world. Those close to her noticed another shift, a sense of peace that had replaced the restless energy of her younger years. The frantic red carpet sprints, the high-stakes headlines, gone. In their place was a rhythm of slow living in her British Columbia home, where she nurtured a vegetable garden, shared quiet meals with friends, and spent meaningful time with her grown sons. Mornings often began with walks at sunrise, and evenings ended with her hands in the soil or at the stove, cooking from her harvest. There was joy in the stillness, there was strength in the quiet, and then, just when her world seemed perfectly balanced, Liam Neeson stepped into it. The unspoken signals from Liam Neeson were impossible to ignore. But what did they mean? And why did they leave even his closest friends puzzled? Keep watching the juicy part. Liam Neeson's surprise confession inside his unlikely love for Pamela Anderson. In October 2024, Liam Neeson gave what many believed was his final word on romance. In a candid interview with People magazine, he spoke with the quiet conviction of someone who had made peace with his choices. At 73, he had lived decades in the public eye, shaping some of Hollywood's most iconic roles, navigating the turbulence of fame, and surviving a few high-profile relationships. When he said, "I'm past all that," it felt definitive.
Rodney Cole, a colleague at Langmore in the States, a dear friend. He can verify who I am.
Fans who had followed his career weren't just hearing a statement, they were witnessing a man draw a personal curtain across his love life. But life doesn't always obey the boundaries we set. Months later, there was a noticeable shift. Neeson's trademark privacy and grounded demeanor remained intact, but his guardedness had softened. And when Pamela Anderson's name entered the conversation, his response wasn't the usual careful sidestep. Instead, he allowed a rare crack in the armor. "With Pamela, I'm madly in love with her," he said. No dramatic flourish, no clever deflection, just a raw truth spoken plainly. The words carried weight because they were unadorned, the kind of truth that doesn't need to be dressed up. It startled the public, not because Liam was incapable of affection, but because his life had so long been defined by emotional restraint. He was the man who kept his personal world locked away, revealing little beyond the occasional polite nod. To hear him speak about someone with that kind of warmth was more than unusual. It suggested something deeper than admiration, something that had quietly rooted itself in his life. Their connection began to show in subtle, almost accidental ways. During a promotional interview for their joint film project, the professional facade slipped just enough to reveal a glimpse of what was happening behind the scenes. Pamela called Liam kind, sweet, and funny, her tone light but sincere, before teasing that he was very silly. Liam smiled and echoed her words, calling her very silly too. It wasn't the words themselves that caught attention. It was the way they looked at each other while saying them. A spark of recognition passed between them, the kind only shared by people who have a private rhythm, a shorthand no one else can quite decipher. This wasn't the brittle chemistry of actors reading lines. This was comfort. It was the ease of inside jokes and silent understandings, the kind of bond that grows when two people find themselves unexpectedly understood. When the inevitable media attention followed, Neeson was careful. In another interview, he avoided handing over a headline-ready answer. Instead, he described their connection as a lovely budding chemistry, as two actors. Then, he said they were letting it breathe.
Hey, American, I'm sorry we couldn't help you.
You know where she is, I can tell. Look, I just want to thank her. She saved my life.
That simple phrase lodged itself in people's minds. In an industry that thrives on speed and spectacle, slowing down and giving something room to grow felt almost rebellious. He wasn't avoiding the truth, he was protecting it. By refusing to slap a label on what they had, he was creating space for it to develop naturally, away from the pressure of public expectation. And that choice, perhaps more than his affectionate words, revealed how much he valued it. Even without an official label, the signs were undeniable. Liam Neeson, a man who rarely revealed anything about his private life, was showing the world something rare. Not just that he cared for someone, but that he cared enough to nurture it quietly. And after he opened the door just enough to let the world peek in, attention shifted. Everyone wanted to know what Pamela Anderson would say. Then, after months of silence, she finally spoke, and what she revealed stopped everyone in their tracks, breaking her silence on Pamela's real truth. But could her version of the story turn everything we thought we knew upside down? Let's dive deeper. Breaking her silence. Pamela Anderson's real truth about Liam Neeson. For weeks, the air around Pamela Anderson seemed charged with speculation. The whispers about her and Liam Neeson had started quietly, like a rumor overheard in passing. But after their joint press appearances, those murmurs snowballed into bold headlines. The world didn't need an official statement. The easy glances, playful exchanges, and unmistakable chemistry had already convinced the public that something was happening. Still, the pair had done little to confirm or deny it, letting curiosity feed the story. Then, in early May 2025, Pamela decided to speak, but in her own way, on her own terms. Sitting down for an interview, she allowed just a peek into what she described as a connection built on shared interests, laughter, and comfort. Between takes, they would read together, swap stories, and enjoy what she teasingly called romantic dinners with their assistants present. These weren't grand candlelit nights in exclusive restaurants. They were quiet meals in hotel suites or backlot trailers, intimate yet firmly rooted in respect and professionalism during filming. Months later, during a promotional event, the question came again. Was there more to her relationship with Neeson than friendship? Pamela's answer was deliberate. She paused, flashed a knowing smile, and with a light edge of sarcasm, repeated her earlier phrase. Our relationship stayed professionally romantic during filming. It was the kind of statement that managed to reveal everything and nothing at once, polished enough to be quotable, yet vague enough to keep the guessing game alive. Her strategy was clear. Rather than feeding the media machine with either a denial or a confession, Pamela chose to leave room for ambiguity. She wasn't dodging. She was designing the narrative in a way that kept her in control. Those close to her insist it's intentional, a choice to let people engage with the story without being handed a ready-made answer. And that choice has only deepened the intrigue. Was this an elevated friendship? A slow-burn romance that resisted definition? Or a bond so deep it didn't need to be labeled? By leaving the door slightly ajar, Pamela ensured the public would keep peeking in. This subtle withholding fits perfectly with the woman she is now. At 58, Pamela is no longer defined by the flashing cameras and scandal-driven headlines of her past. She's traded tabloid chaos for a measured confidence, one that comes from living through decades of scrutiny and coming out stronger. Her interviews now are marked by wit, pauses, and thoughtfulness, rather than rehearsed lines. Repeating professionally romantic wasn't avoidance. It was artistry. It reminded people that some truths are better understood in tone, in context, and in the moments between the words.
Yeah, I have my garden. I'm making my sourdough. I go for long walks. And, being alone is a...
And her laughter after saying it? It wasn't the nervous laugh of someone cornered. It was the playful laugh of someone who knows exactly what she's doing. Someone inviting you to keep watching without promising when or if you'll get the whole story. Pamela's approach isn't secrecy, it's sovereignty. She decides what's hers to share and what belongs only to her. whether her connection with Liam Neeson stays private or eventually unfolds into something public. She's not rushing to define it for anyone else's benefit. In an industry addicted to instant answers, her patience feels almost radical, and while Pamela may have given just enough to satisfy curiosity for a moment, the speculation hasn't stopped. The more she withholds, the more the public leans in. Fame, as always, has a way of twisting the tale, and soon, the world would have plenty to say about this unlikely pair. They've already shattered expectations and redefined how celebrities can embrace love later in life. They're doing it entirely on their terms. And for those watching, that authenticity is exactly what makes their future, whether as a couple or as lifelong partners. So fascinating. So do you think Pamela and Liam will leap? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe.